In this video, entitled neighbor pepper sprays my dog and steals my phone. Strict compliance leads to a company screwing itself. And entitled parents are mad at me for their son breaking into my room in the middle of the night. Entitled neighbor pepper sprays my dog and steals my phone. For context, we lived across the street from this woman for about 6 years. We've never had a problem with her, and she always put really cute outfits on her dog, so obviously we knew her. Last year, we got our dog, and she was the most playful puppy you could ever meet. The only problem that she really had was the fact that she would run up to people and just assume that they wanted to play. By this, I mean she would do that tappity-jumpy thing that dogs do when they're excited. She would never jump on people or bite. The first encounter we had with her with our dog was when she was about 3 months old and she ran up to our neighbor. At this point in time, my dog was about the same size as her dog. She wasn't on a leash because we were watching her in our yard. She immediately pulled out the pepper spray until my mom confronted her, apologized, and told her don't touch our dog. She gave my mom a threat that I really can't remember too well, but she still continued to go down the same route for the next year. Nothing really exciting happened the next year after that. Our dog grew and she was still very playful. She's everyone's favorite dog on the block. It wasn't until I got home one day and I sat in my car for a moment, I saw her walking past with her dog holding a bottle of pepper spray in her hand, not thinking too much of it. My dog is outside with my mom, and we don't expect our dog to go run up to the woman. My dog is about 6 feet away from her safely, just doing her little dog tapping thing with her feet. Gosh, she's so cute to think about it. And this lady just targets to spray my dog. Me, being the crazy dog mom that I am, run up to the woman and I shove her and I tell her not to pepper spray my dog. Immediately, she starts to pepper spray me, and that's when I, a 20-year-old woman, start to restrain this 60-year-old woman as she uses the rest of her pepper spray on me, trying to aim for my dog. Immediately, she drops herself to the floor, slyly grabs all of my things that fell off of me while I was running to my dog, phone, glasses, vape, the usual, and was pretending like she was assaulted by me pretty bad. The cops did end up coming, and they ended up telling me that she likes to attempt to pepper spray other people's dogs if they walk too close to her. That was what she was known for in the neighborhood. They ended up sending her home and me back into my house after that happened, and the cops gave me a phone number just in case I needed to get a hold of them. This woman had no idea that I used the Google tracking device on my phone, that I can easily look into my iPad. I ended up finding out this woman took my phone to her house, wrapped it up in a trash bag, and threw it away, along with my other things. The cops ended up coming back to her house after I showed them the tracking device on my iPad, and I played my alarm sound until they found my stuff. They ended up charging her with battery and theft, and I pressed charges on my broken phone. I'm glad that it ended out the way that it did, but it's so heartbreaking to see people really wanting to hurt other animals, especially with pepper spray. I don't want to say that she was in the wrong for getting scared of my dog, but she knows from experience my dog isn't trying to hurt her or her dog. My dog is just excited. My dog was being monitored by my mom, and usually she listens to her, so this was unexpected. Strict compliance leads to a company screwing itself. I worked for a major government contractor for a government agency. If I named the agency or location, it'd be pretty obvious to people with long memories and an axe to grind. I'd risen up through the ranks because I have good technical knowledge and I have a knack for seeing a big picture view of big projects and seeing potential problems. I was very good at what I did. Many managers didn't like me because I pointed out problem areas over 75% accuracy, and I stated facts without regard for management politics. I didn't suck up. Some managers gave fair-haired boy, a suck-up, credit for my work, which I'd done before fair-haired boy was even working on the project. Then they desperately needed my technical expertise on a very large procurement, 8 digits. I wrote most of the technical specifications, identifying risk areas and the consequences of bad procurement decisions. Fair-haired boy dismissed my arguments as no big deal and we can work around that. So management ignored me and ended up buying inadequate equipment. I was reassigned again, and fair-haired boy was given what should have been my job with a promotion and big raise. My parting gift to the project manager managers was a detailed memo highlighting every technical problem that I foresaw in that development and how it could be avoided. It was a very long list of nearly 100 watch items, and they ended up hitting almost all of them. As usual, management ignored me. Due to company rules and a lot of prior excellent personnel performance reviews, management couldn't fire me immediately, but I could tell I was being set up for termination. I was assigned a job to work directly with the customer as liaison, actually sitting on the customer's site. Management figured I'd be an irritant and distract the customer from the company's issues. In the meantime, I'd keep our company informed about what the customer was saying behind closed doors, and I was supposed to tell the customer what management wanted me to say was happening in the company. Management intended it to be a do-nothing job to keep me out of sight, out of mind. I don't do do-nothing jobs. I took it seriously. But after a couple of months, management told me in no uncertain terms that I wasn't permitted to answer the customer's questions about what was going on inside the company on the project, and that I wasn't permitted to talk at internal company meetings where the customer's needs were being discussed. I was muzzled and set up for failure, or so they thought. Now comes the malicious compliance that ended up with revenge. When asked by the customer, instead of X or Y is happening, my responses were pretty much like, I'm not permitted to tell you whether the project is significantly over budget, and management won't let me tell you whether or not the company is dropping design requirements for features A and B. I explicitly complied with management's directive of not answering the customer's questions, but I slipped in enough hints in my non-answers that the customer knew where to look and what questions to ask. The customer also kept meeting minutes and often recordings which always reflected that I didn't answer questions about the subject under discussion, which was technically the truth. This was very critical later. Eventually, management couldn't hide that the project was way late and way over budget, which didn't surprise the customer thanks to my hints. The customer ripped the company a new one in their periodic contract performance review. Note, on government contracts, it's very difficult to get a low performance score. Really difficult. The company got a very low performance score. It was ugly, and the company lost a lot of contract bonuses, which would have been a big part of profits and management bonuses. And fair-haired boy was under so much stress trying to solve the problems that I'd warned him about that he had a major heart attack and retired for medical disability at the age of 42. It was a bad heart attack. Naturally, management wanted me to be the scapegoat so they'd get to fire me, but the customer liked how I worked, and they protected me with very careful language in the performance appraisals. Basically, that the task I was doing was the only task in the company that was performing effectively, and everything else stank to high heaven. Upper management didn't dare fire me, or they'd anger the customer even more than they already had, possibly to the point of having the contract taken away for non-performance. One particularly nasty manager who really hated me had to give me a significant pay raise and bonus because of my work. The fallout from the review was bad enough that corporate headquarters did some management shuffling and a few of my antagonists were suddenly gone. The raise and promotion ended up not mattering because the customer hired me directly, working on the same project but on the government side. This caused management to crap their pants because I knew all their dirty secrets and tricks. But I never ratted on any of the managers or company's dirty laundry. I didn't have to. My new coworkers had previously figured out where to focus their attention and what questions to ask to get past the company's bullshit. I complied strictly with the terms of my separation from the company and gave away no secrets after I left the company. One of the best parts was that in meetings, all I had to do was put on an evil grin and the company managers would practically shit themselves, wondering if I was going to unearth one of their skeletons. I never did. I just liked watching them squirm. They got paranoid about being caught trying to lie to the government that they were admitting bad news up front. Because of bad performance that management admitted, it got even worse for the company. They decided to try letting their legal hounds on me for violating company non-disclosure agreements, but the customers' meeting minutes proved that I hadn't. The contract was restructured to eliminate several blind spots the company had used to their advantage. The customers' oversight of the company rose significantly. Profit margins on the contract shrank. Several of management's favorite employees suddenly had resumes on the street because their protection was disappearing. Even more managers retired or found other jobs. It was glorious to watch, especially because I let them do it to themselves, and I was extremely happy in my new job, where I still work. Entitled parents are mad at me for their son breaking into my room in the middle of the night. Meet the cast. OP, well, me. AFAB, they, she. Clem, My flatmate and close friend, male. He, him. The intruder, entitled parent's son. Susan, entitled mom, the poshest Karen I've ever seen. Chad, entitled dad. He'll let you know that he's a lawyer. Security guard, security guard. I know, not very imaginative, sorry. Manager, campus housing manager, a Karen's deadliest weapon. On to the story. This happened last week. It's the end of the semester here at uni, which means that most of the students are rounding up coursework, presentations, and essays whilst preparing for the long revision nights of Easter break that we're obviously having after Easter. Safe to say that most of us, including me, are very stressed and or sleep deprived. It's in this context of mental and physical exhaustion that this story takes place. It has to be noted that my bedroom door sometimes doesn't lock. It needs to be pulled hard to be fully closed, and I happen to have forgotten to do this a couple of times, the night of the incident obviously being one of them. After a full day of reading and essay planning, I went to sleep at around 11 p.m. and fell asleep almost immediately. Like I said, I was absolutely exhausted. A few hours later, I heard what sounded like hushed footsteps near my bed. I'm a very, very light sleeper, and I'm awoken by the smallest unfamiliar noises. Due to PTSD, one of the sounds I'm most sensitive to is footsteps. Needless to say that my eyes shot open almost immediately. I turn around to see a silhouette of a guy I've never seen standing next to my bed. I could make out a bit of his face, nothing scary about his appearance aside from the fact that I didn't know who he was, that he was staring at me in my bedroom in the middle of the night. I let out the loudest, high-pitched scream I think I've ever been able to produce, yelling at this dude to get the fuck out. He seemed taken aback but didn't reach much, which made it even scarier. I was crying, hyperventilating. It seemed like I was about to die, have a heart attack or something of the sort. Before I had time to do anything, my flatmate Clem was in the room, also yelling at the dude to get out, whilst trying to give me a shirt to cover up. I sleep naked, so Clem assumed the dude was trying to assault me. All the commotion attracted the security guard that was walking the halls. He separated everyone and took the intruder out into the common area to give me some time to compose myself and get dressed to explain what happened. Once Clem had managed to calm me down, I explained the story to the security guard, who told me that our flat's door was also unlocked, which is probably how the intruder got in the first place. The intruder was searched by the security guard, but he wasn't found with any weapons on him, so he was allowed to go back to his flat. All the commotion had woken up the rest of the flat and a couple of flats next door. Security guard ordered everyone to go back to their flats and to properly lock their doors. Safe to say I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Neither did Clem. So we stayed together trying to relax and forget about this very unfortunate event. Boy, do I wish it had stopped there. 3 to 4 days later, Clem and I are summoned for a meeting with the housing manager. When we got there, the intruder, who we assumed to be his parents waiting, this was in respect of COVID regulations. Plus, we all had masks and we were socially distanced in the office. I'll try to give you the conversation as verbatim as possible. Manager: good afternoon, everyone. Clem, OP, the intruder, thank you for taking some time out of your studies to meet with us. As you know, there's been a very unfortunate incident Monday night as the intruder broke into OP's room, which caused them a great deal of fright. The intruder, Mrs. EM and Mr. ED, you've called this meeting to contest the intruder's expulsion from this housing following the incident. Is this correct? EM and ED nodded, looking fairly confident. Manager: the intruder, on what ground are you contesting the expulsion? The intruder: well, ED, cutting his son off. You see, sir, my son is young. He made a mistake and deeply regrets scarring this young lady here and offending her boyfriend. Clem: I'm not her boyfriend. ED: I wasn't finished. As I said, my son deeply regrets his mistake, but it was a mistake. Nothing illegal was found on him on the night of the incident, and his room was searched illegally. Thus, he should not be expulsed from your halls. I'm a lawyer. I know the law. Manager: we'll discuss this in a second, sir, but I'd like to hear from the intruder, who I'm sure can speak for himself and give us his explanation. The intruder looked at his dad, who gave him a nod, almost like he was waiting for his dad's permission to speak. The intruder: well, like father said, it was a mistake. I didn't realize I had walked into the wrong flat. I just noticed when I saw the girl sleeping that I was in the wrong room. And father says that the drugs you found in my room weren't seized illegally, so you technically shouldn't be allowed to expulse me. Manager pulled out a copy of the intruder's housing contract. They keep a copy of our signed contract for legal reasons or in case we lose ours. He flicked the pages to the illegal substances and contraband section, which essentially says that any possession of illegal stuff, illegal drugs, weapons, etc., on housing grounds would be met with immediate expulsion. He then turned more pages to the room entering and inspections, which states that security and management are allowed to enter any room or flat for repairs or safety inspections with a 24-hour notice, but that for search, when there's suspicions of illegal activities, searches performed by the police did not require any notice. EM, and under what suspicions did you call the police on my baby? This is ridiculous. You have no right to use assumptions that he's a rapist as grounds to search him. Everyone kinda looked shocked at EM's reaction. No one even mentioned anything about sexual assault so far. That's what you call jumping to conclusions. Manager, ma'am, SA is nowhere mentioned on your son's expulsion notice. OP, are we right that the intruder didn't try to assault you? OP, no. I made the assumption at first because I saw OP was crying and trying to cover themselves with a stranger, tall man in her room. It was late, I was barely awake, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. ED, so you wrongfully accused my son of sexual assault? Do you know we could sue you for this, young man? I work for, insert apparently prestigious law firm name here. Manager, everyone, calm down. No one is suing anyone here, especially since no allegations were made. It was something said in the heat of the moment. Besides, your son is being expulsed because ecstasy and marijuana were found in his room on Tuesday. His room was searched because he admitted to the security guard that intervened that he was under the influence. Now, if you can't give me substantial evidence that the intruder hasn't violated his contract, we will end this meeting. Does anyone have anything to add? EM. Well, I have something I need to say. I think this young girl here should be issuing an apology to my baby for getting him expulsed. If she had measured her response to my son's presence and had slept with a shirt on, none of this would have happened. Also, imagine how embarrassing it would have been for my son to realize you entered the wrong flat. What was he supposed to do? Clem. Oh, I don't know. Leave the bloody flat? OP. Also, Mrs. EM, I don't know how me sleeping with or without a shirt on would have changed anything. I had my covers to my chin, and I wouldn't change my sleeping habits in case someone decides to break into my room at 3 in the morning. The intruder, yeah, I didn't see anything in the moment. I only realized you were shirtless when I was taken out of the room because the lights were turned on. Mummy, please, stop with that. ED, son, don't speak to your mother this way. We're doing everything to keep you here, so show some respect. The meeting ended shortly after this. We left and the intruder was expulsed. But honestly, I feel sorry for him. He didn't seem to be a bad person, and his parents are just garbage people that will coddle him, probably for the sake of their image more than for his own good. I rarely feel sorry for the kids of entitled parents, but the intruder makes me a bit sad.